Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. Happy Halloween. We finally made it. Woohoo! Hey, we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. Thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you and so grateful, honored to Justin Snicker, Mr. Halloween, as I like to say, Dr. Stick the Sonic Surgeon, for his contribution of his music and his voice on the intro that you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but does phenomenal commission pieces. So check him out. So tonight, by popular request, after the last show at the beginning of the month, I think people just sort of like, bring Wayne back. So I was like, wow, okay, for sure. So honestly, this guy has just been, he's just had so many paranormal experiences. And it's interesting because some of them I've heard, of a lot of these experiences, and some of them I haven't heard about at all. So we're sitting at the table, like last week or beginning of the week, and he's firing off some of these stories. I'm just like, the hell was I when all this was going on? It's like, anyway, so we're going to be bringing him back, and he's going to talk about some of his haunted stories at work and some of the things that have happened to him there. And there's a huge amount of stuff. We're also going to have more, paranormal experiences because people were asking for more stories from the manor house. So there's going to be a whole lot of different things that we're going to talk about tonight, and it'll be a lot of fun, just keeping in tune with, the spookiest night of the year, of course. There she is.
I can't hear. Oh.
Yeah. Maybe. Possibly. Been a day, I see.
It's those goblins again.
I can't hear.
I had to move my camera because my hat does not even fit.
Uh-oh.
In the... But you look great. Hello.
Hello.
Everybody.
Oh, gosh. So I just got off with hanging out with Laura Lee.
I missed
and
it.
David on, foot at the end of the bed. Carrie Lynn cocktail. We had so much fun. It was
I believe it.
Oh, yeah.
I missed it.
Yeah, they were awesome. So, but this is going to be awesome.
I'm going to be a nerdy witch.
You're what?
I'm going to be a nerdy witch because I can't see my screen. But anyways, this isn't going to last long. That's all I'm saying. This is not going to last long because it's so big. There's actual piping, like pipe here.
I stole Wayne's top hat.
Yeah. It's cute though.
That we got in Gettysburg. And so I figured we better place it. It's haunted Gettysburg. So there's a mannequin that we have here. Her name is Molly. And
I know Miss Molly. Miss Molly stole the crap out of me.
Fine, but she had the top hat, and so I had to walk by and right off her head.
That's funny. The first time I saw her, I startle so easy. Not afraid of a lot of stuff, spiders.
He used to actually move her around.
I know.
Haunted house, move them all.
I'm like,
move the mannequin
every
around.
time I went in the front of the manor, I was just like, okay, where is she?
I'm telling you, she's gonna be wearing the chainmail pretty soon because
That's cute though.
my daughter's dibs the thing in the back, the form in the back. I'm like, all right. So Molly's gonna come up and be a Templar.
Oh,
Anyway,
that would be funny though.
I know.
It's
She's
not bad.
stunning, so it'll be perfect.
Hello.
So, anyway, without further ado, hello.
Kathy received
Nice.
her book. I'm so happy.
This is great.
Yes.
All right.
I'm so happy. I'm
Here we
glad.
go.
I'm glad. Good. Hello.
Hat back.
No, my grades are
She
gone.
looks cuter in it.
Damn straight.
How are
Damn
you?
straight.
Well, thanks. So, we're sitting at the table, and I've heard a lot of your stories because we've known each other a freaking really long time. And I thought I heard all these stories only to find out, happy Halloween, Kathy, only to find out you've kind of been holding out on me. So I wasn't sure whether to be offended or to just probe
To
from
be fair, my mind is going.
I was going to say I'd go with Wayne forgetting.
Well, I know. So I figured we might as well have you retell some of the stories with evidence.
I can't wait to hear them.
Because that way, if you just start forgetting stuff, then we'll be able to have evidence that you actually told stories.
I don't think Wayne forgets his stories. I think he forgets which ones he's told you, perhaps.
No, because he's notorious for repeating himself. I've heard some stories.
Maybe you should try writing a book.
I tried that.
You did really well. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So, you've had haunted things happening to you for as long as we can remember. And I think I really like the workplace was definitely, some people just, you have regular jobs and nothing ever exciting like it really happens. But apparently this guy has had all kinds of things happen because the company he worked for had several large buildings, and some of them went back really far back and had a lot of experiences. But where I'd like to start was a story you told me this morning, which, by the way, was in a hell of a lot more detail than you've ever told it to me before numerous times. And all this got left out. And I'm like,
he's not coming back.
what the hell is that? So, why don't we start with that one? Because I think it's the perfect way to start off, like, the spooky cozy. Hi, Michelle. Happy Halloween to you as well.
This microphone's going to knock my hat off.
So why don't we start with that?
Sure. The one we started with this morning then?
Yeah, the one we started off with this morning. And you were a technician. Just let people know what you were.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked as
no mentioning the company though.
No.
They don't pay us for advertising. Okay, good.
I know.
I was a phone technician, so I was young, and this is what I would describe as my first sort of real paranormal experience, because I was not looking for it, and it wasn't. I watched Scooby-Doo. I watched all the Hilarious How to Frankenstein, all that stuff. I was really into it. Like the monsters were my surrogate family. So I was into it, but I didn't know how into it you could actually get, right? So I was training a young guy, and we went to a house, and we were doing a conversion in this house. It was a big, big mansion. And we went there to convert the old hardwired system over to modular, right? So that's what we were there to do. So anyway, we go in, ring the bell. This guy shows up at the door, and at the time, I think I was probably like 24. This guy shows up. He's in his 50s, maybe 60s, and very proper, very English. He's like, "Oh, good afternoon. You must be the telephone fellows. Please just come in. I'll go get Mother." I'm like, "Mother?"
In that voice?
Wow. How old's your mother? I'm waiting for a week now. Was in a coffin?
It's kind of a creepy story when you think about it.
Yeah, it just set it right off. So I walk in, and this place is beautiful. I mean, it's totally like period-esque, like just big red velvet curtains, taxidermy on the walls, just gorgeous stuff, wood everywhere. Yeah, fantastic house. Anyway, doesn't he wheel this little lady, and she's in a wicker wheelchair, right? And just like she's like, oh, hello. Just like, okay. So I set my partner aside. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do this, going to do that. And we get it all done pretty quick. And then the guy comes and he says, my mother would like to know if she could have a phone put in the living room because we never had one. I said, oh, for sure, we can put one in there. So go in, go down the basement really quick. Yeah, it's an open basement. No big deal. Drill a hole, drop a line. And we go downstairs. I can't find a wire. And the house is big. It's not like a little bungalow. Okay. Like this place went on forever. And just to set the record straight, it wasn't a spooky basement. Like you turn the light on and poof, lights are all on, beautiful. The floor was a light gray. There was little rooms subdivided off at one time, I guess, for firewood or coal or storage or something, right? But it was very well lit, very bright. No spider webs, no bizarre, oh, it's spooky. There was nothing spooky about it. Only thing was we couldn't find the wire. So we're walking around. I said, said to the guy, go back upstairs and just can you bang on the floor? And let me listen to where you are. So I hear him banging, but it's like miles away. And I realized that they'd put an extension on the house way, way, way back. And it was behind a window that used to look out into the backyard. So I, open the window up and I hook it up on the ceiling and there's the wire hanging there. I'm like, oh, perfect. Great. So grab the wire, pull it out. And I go up, I yell upstairs to the kitchen. I'm like, hey, I got it. Come on downstairs. It's good to go. Right. So, let me back up a minute. Sorry. Before I sent him up, we're looking for this wire. Okay. Sorry. And we're walking around. I'm looking about and he comes down with a flashlight. So he's going sort of through these little rooms. And there's no doors on these rooms. They're just openings. Right. So when I open the window, I find the wire. I look back to tell him, hey, I've got it. And the way I described it to Michelle was the way I always describe it. I look back at my partner and he does this thing that I call the funky chicken, right? So he's looking into this room with a flashlight and he does this whole like this, right? And he takes a step back and I'm like, what are you doing? And he looks at me and all the color just goes out of his face, right? Just drains away. And he goes, someone pushed me. And I'm like, don't. Just don't. This is your third day on the job. Don't start with the creepy old house with the wicker wheelchair and someone pushed you. I'm not fine. Right? And he looked again and he just dropped his tools. He dropped his flashlight and he ran down the basement, up the stairs, through the kitchen. And I hear and I'm just like, oh my God. This is going to be good to explain to the little lady and the guy upstairs in this really fancy house, why my partner
who had very proper speech too.
Oh, very,
very refined.
So I'm like, go upstairs, and the old lady, the lady of the house, the elderly lady, she's just like, oh, is everything all right with your friend? And I'm like, I don't know, something's up with him. I'll be right back. Maybe he's not feeling well. So I go outside thinking I'm going to ream this guy. What are you doing? Put me in such a bad position. So I get out and we walk around. I walked around because we parked on the side street, not on the main street. And he is literally on his hands and knees throwing up at the side of the truck. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Are you all right? And he's just like, I'm not going back in that house. I'm just like, that's not what I asked you. I don't care. What's happening? What's going on? Right? He's like, something touched me. Something touched me. I'm not going back in the house. I'm like, okay, whatever. He's unlocked the truck, get him inside. I said, there's a thermos of water sitting there. Get something. There's cups in the dashboard. Just take a breath. Open the windows, right? Don't puke in the truck. So anyway, so I go back in and just like, okay, so I can explain this one away. We're not going to get a nasty phone call, right? So I go back in and she's sitting there and she's like, is everything all right? And I just said, yeah, he must have had something bad for lunch. Like he's really not feeling well. He just didn't want to throw up in your house. So he's all right. I'm just going to finish this job and I'll see if he needs to go home or go to the hospital. So we'll sort it out, right? She says, oh, okay, all right. If you need anything, let me know. So fine. I go back downstairs. I walk over to where the wire is. Now I've got to run this thing through the joists and get it hooked up, right? I start walking towards where his stuff was dropped on the floor, and I can see my breath. So I'm like, it's July in the summer. You don't see your breath in this basement. Promise you. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's different. That's crazy. Where's the cold coming from? Logic, Wayne, trying to figure this out. We're not thinking like there's spooky stuff going on. Sometimes I'm a bit thick. But anyways, so, I go, this is really crazy. I'm in a t-shirt. I'm cold now. Okay, let's get this done. Let's get out of here. Run the wire through, staple it all in, hook it all up, boom. Get it all done. Pack up all his stuff, pick it all up, put it all back in the satchel that he dropped, right? Pick up the flashlight's the last thing I pick up. It's sort of like, it looks like a little periscope flashlight. So I flick it on and off a couple times to make sure it's okay. And I'm like, okay, good to go. So I'm just getting ready to go. And then I have that moment. I'm like, So I take the flashlight and I flash it into that room that he was looking into.
You had to be that guy.
I'm that guy. Yeah. I'm the king of Halloween. What do you want from me? So then I flick the flashlight in there, and I'm pretty good with spatial environment, especially in a house, because it's what I do. And I know that wall should be somewhere between 10 and 12, maybe 15 feet away from the opening of this opening. So the flashlight on. I see no light, to the point where I'm like, okay, yep, the flashlight's on. Well, these are good flashlights. These aren't like, dollar store flashlights. These are high-end flashlights. So I walk the edge of the door, and I'm just like, kind of look that way. I don't see anything. I look that way, and I don't see anything. I do the little test again. That's so weird. So I shine it on the floor again, and I can't even see the floor. I'm like, okay, like, what is this? Logic brain's like, there's got to be like a fabric or something hanging there, like a curtain, like a flat black curtain that just doesn't reflect any light. Fair enough. Okay, here we go. So I go to take a step into this dark room to see if I can actually see anything there. Is there fabric? Is there something? Is it a door? Like, I don't know why I can't see anything. And at that moment is when things got real. Is like, I heard as much as I felt, not a hand on my chest, but like a sound like that, like with fingers, not with a palm, like just fingers, like against my chest. I heard it, I felt it. And most people at this point would run, but I was fascinated. I was totally fascinated with this whole thing. So I looked down, I could see the finger indents in my shirt, but I couldn't see the fingers. So I'm just like, okay, all right, fair enough. How strong are you? I'm thinking this. I'm not talking to myself, not yet. Anyway, so I kind of lean in to this pressure on my chest. I'm like, wow, you are really strong. And at that moment, it went, and it snorted or growled or whatever. And it pushed me back with enough force to make me take 3 or 4 steps back. I lost my footing and I landed on my butt. Right. But the worst of it was the smell. Like it hit me in the face, and it was so brutal. It went up my nose and in my mouth. It was like I was almost vomiting. It was so pungent. I could taste it. I could taste it more than I could smell it. I was like, on the floor, and it's icy cold. Like, I'm getting shivers just talking about it. Honestly, my hairs are standing up. So I got up, picked up the flashlight, I took a step towards the door, and in my head, what I thought was, this is the part in every movie where the audience is screaming, do not go in that room, and the fool goes in the room and dies. That is literally what went through my head. So I just turned the flashlight off. I picked up my stuff. I went upstairs. I got the lady to sign off on the paperwork, went back out, threw the stuff in the back of the truck, got in the driver's seat. My partner's sitting there, looked at me. He's like, well, I'm like, that is one trippy basement. Like, it's bad. Whatever it is, it's bad. I just do not want that ever again. And, I would drive by that house periodically because it was on a main road. And every time I went by, I'd always like look at it like, oh, geez, man, the shivers went right through me. It's horrible. Just a horrible experience for my first experience. Not fun.
Well, that's That's quite a first experience, to say the least. Breaking you in for things to come.
Oh yes, break him in gently. He's a gentle child.
Right.
Let's invisibly vomit into his mouth and put him on his backside. Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
That's crazy.
It was really not cool.
I know.
I'll tell you, like years and years would go by, and I would meet this young man who I'd worked with, and he would always like, "Oh my God, Wayne, it's so good to see you. Do you remember that house? Do you remember that house? Oh my God, I can't even believe that house. I never forget that house." It would always be that conversation, even like 20 or 30 years later.
Oh, wow.
It just scarred that poor guy.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine why, So, I mean, that was just the beginning of a lot of experiences that happened to you working for this company.
Oh yeah, there was quite a few. There's lots of them. When I got transferred from outside, when they were changing up the way they did stuff, they needed guys who had outside experience to go in and do the inside work. And I was one of those people that went in when high speed was coming out, and we had to interface with the outside plant interface, right? The inside guys didn't know, and the outside guys didn't know, so we kind of had to figure out how to talk to one another. Anyway, so we got to then go around building to building and visit all these different sites, which was really cool. So I ended up being on what's called a rover. So I had a vehicle, and I would roam around the city and go to all these different buildings. It's just wild. Some of these things are just brand new, and some of them are as old as Methuselah. Ghastly. So I got the treat of the week to go to this place. We'll just call it Main Street. And it was my first couple times there, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's haunted," right? I'm like, "Whatever." Yeah, sure it is. It's just a big old creepy building name. Grow up, And back then, people were just like, nothing flaps this guy, because I was king of Halloween. I drove a hearse full time. People used to think I was in leagues with the devil. People were afraid to work with me. It was great. Loved it. So get left alone. Even the bosses would leave me alone. So it was good. Anyway, I was in and out of that building all the time, and nothing, zero. And one day I had to drop downstairs and cut through the basement where all the cables come in from the manholes and stuff. So I'm cutting through the basement, and I hear like somebody walking behind me. Like, we all wear running shoes, right? You don't wear hard heel shoes on that job. You'd be dead in a week. And I'm hearing like this walking behind me, and I'm just like, so I stop and turn around. Nobody there. It's like, whatever. I start walking again. And I stopped, don't turn around this time. It's like, cut it out. Whatever you are. Whoever you are, it's not fun. Anyway, so that I didn't hear anything else after that. So a couple of days go by, and I thought, what is with this building, right? So I started to dig up do a little bit of research on the place. And it was built in 1920, if memory serves me right. It had the first working elevator in that city. And when it was being built, a gentleman fell to his death from the third floor down that elevator shaft. And it was interesting because where I was walking was where that elevator shaft came out into the cable vault where all the cables come in. So I thought that's kind of curiosity. That's kind of fun, different. But that building delivered hands down one night, and it was mind blowing how much activity it was. I can't even tell you why or the reasoning behind it. But I was working with a partner that night. We were on the overnight crew that night, so we went in there, and he's a hard, fast, I don't buy it. If I can't touch it, smell it, taste it, it isn't there. You and your voodoo woo-woo, I was always like that, right? So I'd be like, whatever, So what we would do is we would split up on the main floor. So he would take one end, I would take the other end, and we would work towards the middle. Then we change papers, and then we go back, right? So that's how we ran all this cable in a short amount of time. So I'm working at the west end, and he's working at the east end, and I'm plugging away. I've only been at it like 10 minutes. It usually would take us about 45 minutes. So we're halfway through starting, and I hear him coming up to me at like a high rate of speed. I hear the papers rustling and the tools are jingling. And I don't even look up, right? I just sort of said to him, I said, wow, you got that finished pretty quick, didn't you? Hope there's no mistakes. And he came right, like he was like right beside me. And I'm like, whoa, dude, easy. Like, what's with this, right? And he goes, I thought you were walking towards me. I literally said the same thing to you. You know, and I looked up and you were way down the other end of the building. And he goes, my hair just stood straight up. He's like, there's nothing. There's no way. That footstep walked right past me. I felt the breeze go by me. I smelt the cologne of the person. And then it went right around the other end and it came up the other side of the equipment, walking the other way. And he's like, that's enough. Yeah, I'm totally good with not. So you're not leaving my side for the rest of the night. I don't care if it takes all night. I'm not working by myself today. There's no way. Okay, whatever. So we figured out a game plan. And the funny thing was he's a musician, a really good one. And he used to always razz the different radio stations for like what he would call buzzsaw rock, right? And the backbeat of like don't. So whenever he would hear a song like that, he would grab a screwdriver right away and start banging on a pipe or banging on a piece of metal. Goes, oh, look at me. I'm a rock star. Boom, 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 boom. Just sarcastic. It's just him, right? That was his humor. So about 20 minutes later, he's like 5 or 6 feet from me working away. And this music comes on. And, it's the buzzsaw rock. And all of a sudden you hear like bang, 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 bang. I'm just like, does that not ever get old with you, dude? Like, does it never get old? And I look over and he's just like, he's not doing it, right? He's not banging on anything, right?
No.
And I'm looking around, you can hear this bang, 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 bang to the beat of the music. And he's like, what is it? I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, knock it off. And it stopped. Like, okay, cool. That's all right.
Oh, it was having fun.
Yeah, it's just playing fun, right? But then, like, we had this rock station on, and we're working away, and all of a sudden, the rock station's like fading out, and then all of a sudden, you're hearing this this music, like the '40s big band kind of song. And again, we're kind of looking at each other, and he's like, "Give me a sec, I gotta go get rid of that. Right? I can't work to that."
Not to end the mood.
Dial it in, right? He can't dial it in. He's dialing it in, and then the rock station just disappears altogether. It's a dead air, but we can still hear this big band, trumpet music going. And so we start following it because we have speakers through the whole place, right? That's like the intercom speakers. That's what we're listening to, and we realize it's not coming from the intercom speakers at all. It's just ambient from somewhere. So we kind of start wandering around together, and we end up in what's called the battery room, where all the backup batteries are for everything when there's a power outage, right? And literally we're on our hands and knees crawling underneath all these battery racks, trying to find this sound that ended up coming from a pipe. It was really faint, like so faint. It went from really loud, overpowering our music to like non-existent, but you could barely hear it. And then it just disappeared, gone. And that same night, right? So we're doing the paperwork and we're signing off. We're on our computer and doing all that stuff. Hey, Mike. And he says, I need to go use the little boy's room. I'm like, well, bye. So he wanders off down the west end of the building. So I'm doing my computer input stuff. And from my my left side, I guess, the east end of the building, I see a person come around the big bank of equipment that we've got there. And these things are huge. They're like 10 feet tall. And he walks around the corner, and the same sort of thing out of the corner of my eye. And I'm like, well, that was quick. Making light of it, right? It's getting me on you kind of thing. And I look up, and it's a woman, not even him. Right. And I could tell by the form it was a woman. I couldn't see her whole face or head. But as I looked up like that, she literally disappeared. Oh, she disappeared from the feet up. So she had like a tan skirt on. I could see her legs, couldn't see her feet. She had an almond or off-white color blouse and a little vesty type of thing. It's gone, like nothing. Then the last thing that night was we were just getting ready to go, and we heard like what was an old doorbell sound, like a bring, bring, like that kind of sound. We have alarms to sound every kind of emergency in that building you could ever imagine. And we know every single one of them. High water alarms, carbon dioxide alarms, you name it, we've got them. Never heard that one, ever. And it was persistent. It was like ring, 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 ring. I'm like, what is this now? Now? We can't leave. Like we've got to identify the alarm, and we've got to clear it, or we've got to report it in. So so we got a little looking for this thing. We went everywhere. We checked every panel, every single thing in the entire building. It probably took us 40 minutes. And the whole time, ring, 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 ring. So finally we come down the stairs, and it's ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. And it's coming from the elevator. Now that elevator was decommissioned in the 60s. No power to it. Lights don't work. The buttons don't work. Nothing works. So the doors on the first floor open all the time. All the other ones are closed, obviously. So I walk in the elevator. I'm looking around, and there's the emergency button for if you're trapped in the elevator. So I push it. Ring. Ring, 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 ring. And Tim's looking at me. He's just like, how is that even possible? There's no power to it. How is it ringing? And who was ringing it?
Oh, wow.
So we have card operated ID, right? So when you come into any building at all, when you swipe in, our central office knows it. So they know who's in the building at any given time. So we call the central office. We go, hey, it's Wayne. Here's my detail, blah, blah, blah. Who's in the building other than me and Tim? Hang on. Just you guys. Nobody's carded in, not since 6 a.m. And they carded out. So we're the only people in the building. It's like, correct. No explanation for that at all. Zero. That was the one night that everything in that building went crazy. Everything.
Was there anything special about that night?
Sorry?
Was there anything special about that night?
Nope.
Like just a regular work day?
I think it was January or February. It wasn't a particularly warm day, but the buildings were warm. But that temperature and that first floor, that temperature went, it dropped right off to nothing, to the point where we called maintenance to say, you'll need to get someone here at 7 o'clock in the morning because we have frigid temperatures going on. And that was the start of all the nonsense. It went crazy, just crazy. And I never did it again. I've never had anything like that again, ever.
Do you think it could have been the anniversary of the gentleman who passed away? Like, did you ever research that or look into that?
I couldn't find the actual, if I found the date, I can't remember it now. It didn't coincide, I don't think. It was a summer date, but then it wouldn't explain the woman walking. I think the woman walking around, to be honest, was a residual energy, because where she was, before all that equipment went in, that was all operator services in the 20s and 30s. So where she was would have been a series of wooden offices. And you can actually see the wood still up on the ceiling where all the partitions came down, right, and spread everything out. So I think she was just walking back and forth between offices, like, doing whatever they did back then, typing memos and delivering letters, right? I think that's what was done back then. That's what I get from a feeling of her. The guy is very interactive. Like, people don't like go in that office at all. After hours, we have one cable guy. It was so funny. He was with me at another office, and he got a dispatch call. He looks at it and he's like, "Yeah, you can forget that." I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "That's Main Street. I'm not going there. I don't go to Main Street after hours. As soon as the sun goes down, I know that can wait."
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, serious. People are terrified of that building.
Now, did other people have stories there as well?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. A lot of footsteps, cold spots, shuffling papers, hearing people breathing, talking, weird smells like the colognes and perfumes and stuff like that. Bizarre, just crazy.
Well, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but is this a building that my brother was in?
I don't know. I think your brother was more in the central core, wasn't he?
He was all over. He had been there for years.
Oh, he could have been there.
Because
our guy,
this
right?
was especially for you guys, because he never talked about anything like that. Yeah, he worked for them from like young.
Yeah, he was. If he was a power guy, he would know that building, because the power guys go everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, they were.
Never heard any stories. That's why I'm saying, like, it's very special of you. Pardon?
Guys that worked that district, which was East District, a lot of them would talk about it. Many of them were just like, I never had anything happen. Some of the older guys were like, nope. Sun goes down, I don't go in.
Oh, wow.
you know.
And see, Adrienne actually had a good point. Do you know at all about the history of the land?
No, I know the area. I mean, it's southern East Toronto is where it is, right? So it's not quite the beaches, just north of the beaches. So the beaches are be down here, and then it kind of goes up a hill, and it's at the top of the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Is that where they housed all the immigrants from before the 1900s? I bet you we can find that for you.
I had to look it up. It was in the paper called the Telegram,
Yeah.
which was then it became the Toronto Sun back then, and I found it looking through the archives of the Telegram.
Was that York back then?
It would have been York, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the building was built in 1920, give or take a year either way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I
wow.
it was. You're
So interesting.
Years right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of areas in the city tends to be active. You guys have other buildings as well. It seems like most of your buildings, ironically, seem to have activity there.
Well, one north of us, over by the Don Valley there, he's a really good friend of mine now, still, after all these years, he's a really good friend. And he wouldn't talk about things like this at all. Because, right? So he just was like, nope, I don't talk about stuff. And then one day I was just jamming about it. And he's like, do you believe in this stuff? I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, I gotta tell you something. Like it'll blow your mind, because it like scared the Jesus out of me. And it was one of these offices up near the Don Valley Parkway in near Eglinton. And he said, I went downstairs, I was cutting through the basement, stop at the cafeteria, and then I'm just going back up. And he said, I literally came around a corner, and there was a Native American Indian standing right there, like complete garb, had the beaded chest plate and stuff like that, and the straight black hair. And he goes, it made me jump. It wasn't a ghost. He goes, it was 3-dimensional person.
That's scary. Yeah.
I was like by myself in the building. I was like, no! Like this, right? And even me shouting, like, because it startled me, it didn't faze this person. And he looked right at me, like not like I wasn't there. He turned, looked right at me, and I was just like, oh man, you scared me. Who are you? And it was like, whoop. It didn't even fade away. It was just like gone, like just gone. And he's just like, oh man, I'm tired. I am tired. I'm now seeing full-blown things that aren't there.
But
yeah, you can talk about that for at me.
Oh wow. There was a lot of stuff that happened down there. They also had housing, like government housing for immigrants who, like the poor and stuff like that.
They did.
And there was a lot of murders there. A lot of gang fighting, kind of like gangs of New York, but downtown Toronto.
Yeah, we know somebody who worked in the building.
Yeah, I remember that case too.
Yeah.
Well, I think though, what Adrienne is asking about energy, you got to figure how much energy output is in the basement of a phone building.
Right.
When you think of the generators and the backup batteries, I mean, the batteries are like 3 feet tall, 2 feet wide, and there's rows of them. They fill up an entire room. I can't imagine. I'm probably going to die from EMF poisoning, I swear.
No. And your rocks throw away from water in every direction there too.
There's lots of that.
Yeah. There's rivers, and you've got Lake Ontario right there. That's just a hub of power. That is so cool.
All right, continue. We know there are more.
Like to know? Where do you want me to go with it?
Oh, well, you have a million experiences. I am interested in the story that you had told me about the tunnel going to the old asylum down to the old lake shore.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
that's an old one, but I like that story. It's really good.
This comes secondhand. Okay, it comes from a guy I was working with.
Yeah.
So same idea, right? I'm sort of the go-to guy who's like, you want to talk a freaky story, they'll come and tell me, because then they feel comforted, because I'm not going to laugh at them, right? So I was working with this new guy, and we were just jamming about stuff. And he's like, why do you drive a hearse? I'm like, because I like it, and like Halloween, blah, 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 blah. Do you believe in ghosts? Yes. Yeah. That's how it goes. So we get into it, and he goes, okay, I'm going to tell you something. I'm like, yeah, tell me something. Tell me a story. So he says, look, because he's Italian, and he says, my dad, he goes, is a pretty staunch guy. You know, he's an electrician, been an electrician since dirt was new. And, you know, there's no middle ground with my father. It's black and white.
Right.
You know, go to church every Sunday, go to confession. He gets home from work, there's meal on the table, kids mind their business, and it starts the next day all over again. That is how it goes, right? Wash the car on Saturday. So he said, my dad, he's like, came home from work, and he goes, I got home, my dad was home. He goes, that's just unbelievable. It's the middle of summer. My dad would work till it's dark. That's how it works. You work in construction, and that's him. I come home from work. He's sitting at the kitchen table. There's no food, and there's a scotch and a big bottle beside him. He looked at his mother, and his mother's just like, I don't know, don't ask, right? Your dad's, don't even talk to me. Your dad's being weird, So he just sat there, and he comes in, he goes, hey, Dad, what's going on? And he's just like, no conversation, zero, So this goes on the whole night, like it's been the whole night. So the next morning, my buddy gets up, and his dad's on the phone, right? He goes, yeah, I'm not coming to work. I'm not coming to work. I'm not going to work. You send me somewhere else, I'll do something else, but I'm not going to that place. No. Well, you fire me, I don't care. I'm just not going to that place. End of story. So he hangs up the phone, and he says, Dad, what's with this? What's with you? What's going on, right? Like, this is not like you. Like, you got a headache? Like, what's wrong? You sick? And he goes, oh, it's bad. It's bad. It's not good. So what's not good? You sick? Your health's bad? He's like, no, I saw something. You saw something. What do you see? And he says, like, it's like, I saw something I shouldn't see. It's like, it's like, I got to go to church, like this, right? So he says that afternoon, he comes back from church and talked to priests and everything else. And he's drinking again. And his son's like, okay, what's going on? And he goes, okay. He goes, you know where I'm working, right? He goes, I'm working down at the Lakeshore. It used to be the old sanatorium mental hospital on Queens, on the Lakeshore. Big, vast place. And that place was a series of buildings. They were all joined together by tunnels. And the tunnels serve two purposes. They got all the utilities from a central utility house, like the steam boiler. They got all the heat to the buildings through steam tunnels. They also ran all the electrical through steam tunnels. And they moved the patients from the rooms through the tunnels to where various places they had to go, that we don't upset the other patients when people died and people were going for electroshock treatment and things like that. Unpleasant stuff. So they went through the tunnels. That way nobody saw anything going on. So he's like, what did you see? He goes, okay, so I'm working down there. And he goes, I've got all these cables laid out through these tunnels. These tunnels are not short, right? They are like 100 yards long, if not more. And then they branch off to the different buildings. So he goes, all these cables are run out. I'm working on a live panel. And I hear a door open, and I look down the hallway, and this woman comes out of this doorway, right? And she turns and starts to walk away from me. And he goes, it was so surreal because she was all in white, like not a ghost, but like legs walking, But he said what threw him off was she had a hat, like a nurse's hat from the 20s type of thing on the back of her head. So he calls out to her, and he goes, hey, you can't walk down there. Like, stop. There's live wires down there. You're going to get hurt. And she kept going. So he starts like, oh my God, puts his stuff down, starts running after her. She turns the corner and to go down another corridor. So he goes racing down to the corner. He says, when I got to the corner, I looked down, and he goes, she was almost at the end of the hallway, like almost gone, like 50 yards or more. And he said, there's no way. There's no way that woman could get down there that fast. So he goes, I yelled at her in Italian. I yelled at her. I basically expletives, right? Hey, everybody, like something at her, like, something nasty. And he's like, okay. And he's jogging down there. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you listen to me? You could have got killed. What are you, stupid? Blah, 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 blah. And he gets down there, and he goes, you have to follow me. Come with me. I'm going to take you out. And she turned around, and she had no face. It was just a black hole. God, she just disappeared. And my friend said he left all his tools. Like, electrician's tools are expensive. Tell me, I know. Right. And he left everything there in the hallway. He ran out the nearest exit, got in his truck or his van, and he drove home.
Yeah, we had a guest, Scott McClellan, who was on, and he actually lived there.
Oh, really?
I remember when I did a story for Toronto Life magazine a lot of years ago, and that was one of the locations that was a potential for a story. And I wish I would have known Scott. It would have been outstanding. But I know in one of the shows that he did with us, he told us about some of the things that happened because they turned them into residences.
Yeah.
Now there's some of it that's still like a hospital, like rehab stuff, things like that. But there are also like the main house, I think that was there, or apartments, and he lived in one of these, a section of this incredible place. So that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Tunnels in general tend to have a lot of activity. They're cold, they're damp, they're they just attract all kinds of amazing goodness. But anyway, yeah.
Well, I know a friend of mine I had years ago, we've lost touch. Whenever she would be in a car driving past that, she'd have to look away. She couldn't look at the grounds because she said they're all still there, like against where the fence used to be. So I can't look. I can't look. I know they're still there. I can't look at it.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's a little much for sure. It's very overwhelming type of energy. Because you remember when we did the St. Thomas Asylum?
Yeah.
It was that same sort of heavy, crazy.
You felt that. I didn't feel, to be honest, I didn't feel anything there. You got some great, I got a great picture. You got some great pictures, but like I just wandered through there like, wow, this is cool.
I know. It's insane. It's insane. Asylums are crazy energy.
Thick as a brick.
So getting back to some of your work woos, the stories of your work woos.
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, there's one of the buildings, like there's always a cold spot, and I never saw anything there, but there's always a cold spot, and it was at this one spot in this long row of equipment, and I could never figure it out. As you walk there, it's always, you look up, there's no air conditioning vents, there's nothing, right? There's always a cold spot. And I ended up talking to a guy one night, a really old guy. He'd been there, he's retiring, and I said, "Oh, you're the new fella, aren't you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm new, brand new." Anyway, he's like, "Oh, you ran into the ghost yet?" I'm like, "Oh, tell me more." He's like, "Oh, I'm like, "Oh, I love it. Tell me more. What is it? What happened?" He goes, "Oh, well." He goes, "Before my time," he goes, "right around the time I was hired," he says, "guy was working an afternoon shift at 4 to midnight or something like that, and he fell off one of the rolling ladders, like the library ladders. And he fell off one of those, and he died right at number 182, which is where the cold spot was 182. And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And he says, "Yeah, they don't know whether he had a heart attack while he was on the ladder and dropped, or if he lost his footing, dropped, and from the shock of falling and not being able to get up, had a heart attack laying there, but they found him in the morning." So that was where he passed away. But it's interesting that everybody could feel that spot, like just so random. People would come in and it would be there. And opposite 182 was a window. Now, these are poles, 182, 183. And there was a window and there was a blind that hung there. And we had radiator heat, and the forced air conditioning came from the far end of the building. And all the windows had these pull down blinds, and they all had a string on them. But at 182, that string would spin in a circle. Not every day, but every once in a while you'd see it. And I remember showing it to my boss one day. I'm like, "Hey, check that out." He looked at it, he was like, "Oh, it's the wind." I'm like, "It's not the wind, man. I'm telling you, it's not the wind. The windows don't open, the air conditioning's off, and it's winter. Go again." Right?
Yeah.
A fly hit it. A fly hit it. I love that one.
I've never heard that.
Oh, fly hit the string in the winter.
Anything not to admit it.
I just love it. It's great. I love it.
Oh my gosh. The skeptics get the best experiences.
No. Always.
Yeah.
I think one of my first paranormal experiences at the manor happened like probably a month after I was there. Like I was outside. Nice day. I was painting. I was outside. I was up on a ladder, and I have to back up a bit because I was talking to a friend who's gone now, but we were talking about this, and she had said, "Oh, there's a hidden treasure in the building." I'm like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yeah." I hadn't even bought the house yet, and she had said, "But just be aware that it could just be a little kid's toy truck down the vent. You know what I mean? Like it's a treasure to him or her, right? Not a treasure, right?" So I was up there. I was up 16 or 17 feet on a ladder. I'm painting away. A beautiful day, sunny, not spooky, you know. And I just didn't even say it. I just kind of painting. And I said, "Oh, I wonder what the treasure is. Really, I wonder what it is." And literally in this ear, I hear this little Irish English voice. Couldn't quite make it out at the time. She says, "The house is the treasure, dear." I was like, where did that come from? That was so real. I didn't hear that with my head. I heard that with my ear. And there was nothing there. There's nothing there. But it turned out the house was a treasure. Absolutely. The house was a treasure. And once I got all the garbage stuff cleaned up out of the house over 12 years, it really became a treasure again. It was beautiful. That was my first real, like, whoo, the place.
It gave up a few little treasures, that house.
Yeah, but they took them back. What are you talking about?
This is true.
Look at that thimble I found.
It's true. It's just a thimble, but it's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's crawling through a crawl space. These crawl spaces are long and they're miserable, and my kids wouldn't even go in there. My adult kids, like, you know, I said, "You got to come downstairs and you got to be there while I go through crawl space." He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "In case I get stuck." He's, "Well, I'm not going in there, dude. I don't do dead things." Right? That was his word. I don't do dead things. Right? That's just So I'm working with a buddy and we're pulling new heating pipes in, big cast iron pipes for the rads, right? So we're putting rads into the new bathroom. So I'm hauling this pipe through, like on my hands and knees and then down on my stomach, crawling through the dirt, pulling this pipe through, and he's like feeding it through. And I'm crawling and I started grabbing the dirt and I thought it was a rock. And I opened my hand and it was like it was a sewing thimble. Beautiful silver pewter, I don't know, sewing thimble. Fantastic. I'm like, I hold it up to my buddy on my shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, can you see that?" He's like, "Yeah, what is it?" I'm like, "It's a sewing thimble." I said, "This must have been part of the garden at one time before they closed it in," because it was. I knew that. So he's like, "That's really cool. We found oyster shells and clam shells all down in there and everything when they had garden parties. It was crazy." Anyway, so I'm going to add this to the collection. This is really cool. So I cuff it in my hand and I'm haul the pipe all the way through another 20 feet. And then I get seated at the end and I'm going to put this into my coverall pocket because it's got a button. And I can feel it in my hand. And I open up my hand and it's gone. There's nothing in my hand. And I look back, I'm like, "Hey, you saw that, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "It's gone. So you dropped it in the soil." I'm like, "I crawl on my fist, dude. I didn't drop it in the soil. It's gone." Right? I don't know where it went. But yeah, that was different. I don't get to keep the treasures.
Did you get to keep, because I've never seen this before and you showed it to me and I didn't know what it was the absinthe spoon.
Yeah, I still have that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm taking a guess at that. It's the only thing it could really be because it just doesn't look like anything else. When I look it up,
I looked it up
they
too.
did have absinthe spoons that were that shape, but it was to hold the sugar cube.
The sugar cube. Yeah. Because I didn't know what that was, and I didn't know what absinthe. I'm like, I had no idea until you told me.
Horseshoes and everything. I could tell you what the horse came off, or the shoe came off, or how it was worn. It was really incredible, right?
Real iron,
and the salt and pepper, or the little salt shakers.
Yep.
That
was under the garage before the garage was built. That property was massive, so they would have had garden parties, and each person would have got their own butter and their own salt and pepper. They did everything. It was opulence to the nines back then.
It really was.
Didn't like that part today. Of the basement though. that part of the basement wigged me out because it had the old stairs that used to go out to outside, and they'd all been sealed over, and there was now a whole first floor over them, right? But man, anytime I turned my back on that stairwell, I just felt eyes on me. And I remember, Amelia, you were in where that bathroom was, and you're like, "I don't like this bathroom."
I didn't even know. I was just like, "What is following me?"
That's a nasty guy. Michelle took care of him, thankfully. I didn't like that. That guy was horrible.
He was nasty.
Didn't like him at all.
He kept coming back. Yeah, he was nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we had some pretty good experiences in there doing. You had one of your team in doing something there, and they picked up on the gal who had a stroke and was paralyzed.
Oh, when we filmed a show. Yeah, we
Yeah.
filmed a show there, and the medium was pretty incredible.
They picked right up on him. He just
It was
couldn't.
pretty good.
He couldn't pick up why he was picking up on the energy he was picking up, but he was picking up on it because her bed was right above his head.
That's
where
right.
she
Oh,
would stay.
wow.
Yeah, so he
Yeah.
just couldn't figure out why he was feeling what he was feeling, where he was feeling. It was crazy, crazy stuff.
Very
Mhm.
cool.
Well, the story essentially was she was paralyzed
Yeah,
and she was in a
terrible.
bed and she was getting this feeling that, that she was just spinning all the time
Yeah.
because she couldn't move. And he was
Mhm.
picking up because she's just spinning and spinning and spinning.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, this is why.
This is
Because
why.
we didn't tell anybody anything when they came in. Like
Yeah.
we were always, for the most part, pretty quiet about what was there. And the spirits would often just tell us what they wanted to see, especially when you decided you would start doing restoration. And we're like, we wonder if there was a door here. We would just communicate and they would tell us where everything was. And then we would find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was wild.
Beautiful ornate doorways, like locked between the
All
walls.
blocked in because they made it into apartments at one time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm gonna tell you a funny story that shows how you can really let your mind get away with you in a place. And then I'll tell you a real scary one. Okay. So this house that I had was under renovation, solo me, for like 12 years. It was a hard go. So there was days where I'd be working full time at work and then I'd come home and I'd have breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to bed for a few hours and get up and work. Right. That's just how it had to be. I was tearing ceilings out and putting beams back in, and fixing the electricity and plumbing, everything. It was just a disaster. So this one night I come home, like I say, it's about 4 a.m. It's a cold evening. I got my cat. He's getting old, so I'm pampering him to the nines. He's hilarious. So he's got like bowls of food everywhere, so he doesn't have to suffer. So I'm sitting there and I have one small light that plugs in. All the ceiling lights are out in the parlor and the dining room and the other secondary tea room. So they're all out. The only light that I have is the one on the newel post that's out by the front door. So I come in and put the little light on and get things going. And I sit down with him and we're having a guy moment, right? Chatting away. And I hear above my head, I hear boom, 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 boom.
Which wasn't uncommon, really.
Which is like totally uncommon. I mean, it's not heavy footed like that. They're pretty quiet. And that would be the middle bedroom where Weezer spent most of his life. Now Weezer is a spirit in the house because whenever I hear him, he'd be like,
and we caught that on recording as well.
We taped it. Even him saying, Michelle had said to him, "Is there anything that you need? Are you okay?" And he's just like, "It's so cool."
And then he grabbed the recorder. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
Crazy.
It was wild. So I look up and I'm like, Weezer, if that's you, knock it off, man. I'm just, that's it, right? And then you hear like boom, 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 down towards the parlor. And I'm by myself, right? I know the place has got spirits, but I'm starting to be like, I'm wigging. The cat's like doing this, right? And I hate that stuff, when the cat's on board with it, it's like, I don't like that stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever, it'll be all right. And then I hear it come down the wall. I'm like, okay, it's got to be a mouse. It has to be a mouse. At the very least, it's a squirrel. Maybe a squirrel's in the floors. You know what I mean? It's opening everywhere. And I'm going through the very low. I'm a believer, but I'm extremely logical and I'm very, very methodical in my thinking. I don't like jump to, there's a ghost. It's not always a ghost. So I figure, okay, I need some light. I got to figure out what's going on. Come walking towards the hallway that leads to the front door where I know I can turn the light on, right? And I hear like boom, boom, boom on the wall. And I stop. I'm like, I swear to you, whatever you are, I will kill you.
Again.
I'm like, my heart's like, because I had a bad experience in that house. I don't need to revisit that. So I get to the newel post and she's a beautiful lady with a globe on her and it's a bulb and everything. She's quite ornate. And the switch is on the side. So I get over there and I'm just like, I'm calm. Just put the light on, I'll be fine. Turn the light on, and doesn't the light bulb explode? Like it's boom, like that, and the glass goes up in the air, and I'm just like, ah! Like that, right? I'm gonna kill you. That's right. It was a mouse. It was a mouse. It was totally a mouse the whole time.
They're loud.
They are
They're
loud,
very.
and everything's hollow, and there's no pictures on the walls. There's no curtains. There's nothing.
Everything just echoes.
It echoes and it travels. Man, oh man! I watched this little thing come out of the wall and run across. I'm just like, oh, I will so kill you.
Oh, they're the cutest things.
No, they're not cute. I hate them. So that
You had a
was
cat. What happened?
I have a cat. I'll tell you a funny experience about the cat. He's seen it. So he's standing there looking at 3 bowls of food. The mouse comes out of the pantry. It runs around all the different food bowls, around his water bowl, and he's like this. Like that. Takes kibble out of the food bowl, packs his mouth, runs back in the pantry. He looks over his shoulder at me as much to say, hey, we have a mouse. I think we need to get a cat. I look at him, I'm like, you're a cat. Go get it. That's your job. He's like, oh, yeah.
Oh
Runs
my
in the
God, I
pantry,
miss
yells up
you.
like this, like, turns around, looks at me, he's like, got away. Literally like that. If that cat could have spoke, that is what he would have said. I was like,
You're not getting it. You're not getting it. Wait, it's your turn.
But it is really easy to let your mind run away with you.
Easily.
You know,
Easily.
we've had people film at the house who have spent the night, who have said that there were people walking up and down the halls all night, and then they would stop at, so like the middle door, the middle bedroom at the top of the stairs was the big one, Weezer's room. Then they would stop right up there at the top.
Yeah.
And then just start walking around again.
Mm-hmm.
And that was normal.
I was in the front room, and that was my bedroom, and I heard, like high heel shoes come down the hallway. It's a long hallway on the second floor towards the room right here. Hear the door open to the middle room, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever, it happens. Then you hear 2 women. I say one older, one younger, only because of the pitch change, right? So I hear the higher pitch one go, and you hear the other one go.
Like Charlie Brown's teacher.
That's what I automatically went to.
And then you hear her like, and you hear and you hear that. I'm like, ooh, that didn't go well.
You missed his calling, seriously.
I was not happy with the outcome of said conversation with parent.
And there was another story where there was somebody in the bed beside you.
Oh, why do you bring that one up? That was brutal.
Oh, it was hilarious.
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Oh no!
I've slept in that room because that was my room for a while.
Well, I'm in bed, right? And I'm a light sleeper at the best of times, right? Once you have children, you never sleep. You never sleep again. Never.
Nope. Even when they move out.
Oh yeah. No, you hear me out. So I wake up, like I'm sleeping on my side like this, right? And the bed's moving. My bed's like moving. Right? I'm just like, is that me? Is that me? Is the bed moving?
It's funny.
Oh man, it's a whole other house full of beds. Like, what are you doing? Right?
Why this one? Because it's warm.
Beside me doing the dirty. Right? I couldn't see him, but there was an indentation in the bed, and like the whole bed's like rocking. I'm just like, get a room, not this one.
Oh my
God. Folks.
I'd be sleeping in the other room.
Seriously. No, it's my space. I decorated that place. It was beautiful. No.
I know.
No.
But they still love the room, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
So,
No. Yeah.
Wow, even after life,
we're living it out, right?
But the room was interesting. Like the first time I was up there, because I was ready to film a segment for a show I was doing. And when I was showing the production people around, I caught a woman, a tall woman, and all I caught was the bottom of a flowing gown, like a train just following down along the floor, and it disappeared. Like it came in around the corner where the armoire used to be, and it came around through the front window, and it was just, and I was just like, oh the middle of the day. I was so freaking excited.
Many people have seen that woman coming down the stairs, or just as you get to the top of the stairs, you see the train of the dress go down the hallway. But when you look,
yes,
I saw that too. But it was in the dining room when I saw the cat.
Not surprised. Yeah, she was just all over the house. That one, I think, but and the house really gave up her voice a lot because I don't know how many times. I mean, where we would just hear conversations. I'd come in through the front door and hello there. It's like, hey, but nobody I would recognize because it sounded very elderly.
Yeah, when I was editing Mary, I was up in the tower, in the tea room in the tower, and I heard the front door creak open and close, which is normal. I hear it all the time. The first 200 times you get up. After that, you don't get up anymore. And you hear the steps coming up the stairs. I'm just like really quiet. So I want to see if I can actually see something this time. And literally, I'm counting the steps as they're coming up. And when they got to the point where they could actually look over the ledge of that balcony tea room, no more steps. It's like, oh, he's home. Oh my, gone.
Yeah, but there were times where you would also hear the front door open and close. And this is interesting because it's one of those. I have always been intrigued by phantom sounds. I have recorded things in places that it should not be. These things shouldn't be happening, like chains being dragged across an old floor, but it's carpet, or squeaking floor, but it's a basement cement floor. Like phantom sounds to me are, and I won't even say, in some cases it's residual. So you understand it's a residual sound, but not always, because something at this one location I was at picked up the recorder and was fumbling with it. It was just like almost like a cross-dimensional thing, like something going on, because there's no hardwood on the basement. It was a basement floor.
Nope.
Like it's just weird stuff. But you had things like that. These phantom sounds.
Sounds like we're just all over the place. We'd hear, like I was editing one night in the downstairs room, and that was my bedroom before the upstairs room was finished. And I heard 2 or 3 guys arguing in the dining room. Full on argument. I'm just like, hey, knock it off. Working here. And it stopped. And it slowly built up again. And finally, I got up, opened the door to the bedroom. I was like, hey, knock it off. Take it outside. There's a whole veranda out there.
Right.
I'm working. And they did. You could hear them walk down the hallway. You hear the door open and close, and you didn't hear from them again. But, this story, there's 2 stories I want to tell you. One's really scary, and one scared my kid. My kid is like, at the time, he was probably 22. And we were just sitting in the parlor one evening. It was late, and we were both night owls, so he was talking to me, and we both had a hot chocolate or something going on, and it wasn't spooky. Like, it just wasn't a scary moment in time. It was like there was no
dad and son.
Just quiet, just jamming about nothing. I think we're talking about the books and an idea that he had, and we were just sort of jamming about the repercussions of actually writing something like that. And so I'm in one corner of the room, and he's in the other corner of the room, and then sort of I'm sitting where I am, like, let's say right here behind me would be a big long 4-foot mirror. And then in front of me is the fireplace. And then he's sitting next to the fireplace. So we're about as far away from each other as we can get. Sounds really nice, but that's just how we are. And we're talking, and he's listening. I'm talking to him. And all of a sudden, like he takes his eyes off me and he looks over to the mirror. And I noticed him do it, but I didn't think nothing of it. And then he leaned forward, then looked to the other side of the fireplace. So like he caught something in the reflection. And then he jumped and he looked back in the mirror, and then he was like, oh, like just, it really scared him. Like whatever he saw at that moment, I didn't know what he saw, but it scared the life out of him. And I'm just like, what is it? He goes, he doesn't call me dad ever. He's like, dude, seriously. He's like, I saw a woman in the mirror, and she had one of those funeral hats with the mesh over the face. And he goes, she was standing over by the other side of the fireplace. And he goes, for a split second, I thought it was the mannequin Molly. So he goes, I looked and she wasn't there. So I was like startled that what should be there wasn't there. So I thought in a split second, I just imagined it.
Wow.
When I looked back in the mirror, the image was still there and she blinked at me. Her eyes moved. He goes, that's when I jumped and the glass in the mirror went like water. He goes, there was a ripple effect to the glass and she was gone. He goes, that's when I jumped out of the seat. Now that scared him to death that night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, those two. Oh, sorry.
I had to lower my light because my eyes are bugging me. But yeah.
Well, the scary story that I had was like really I think it was the third.
Is that the one we did on Case Files?
Yes.
Case Files.
Yes, that was the one. Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah,
it was.
Tell it.
I was living alone at that time. There was nobody in the house, you know. And the way I describe it to people is like if you've ever had kids go away to school, like they move out or whatever, your house is like incredibly quiet. It goes from this cacophony of different noises of TV and people fighting. Thanks, buddy. And all this other stuff that's going on all the time. The house is never quiet. There's toasters going, there's water going, there's toilets flushing. There's always something going on in the house to like crickets, like nothing. And it was November. So, you know, tourist season's done for the year and I should be okay. Quiet. I did quiet. So, and the house was cool, right? House was really cool. I mean, temperature wise, but again, it's November. It's a big old house and it takes a while for her to warm up her bones. And once she's warm, she's warm. But when she's cold, man, it's cold. Like it takes forever to warm those bones. I didn't think nothing of it. Nothing of it. Anyway, I'd gone to bed that night and I just got this cat. I just rescued this cat. And he was really in bad shape, but he survived and got him all fixed up. And I used to tease him. I said, who's sleeping on a bed at the end of my bed? Right? Like he just looked one eye at me. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'm living life. He's a good guy. Anyway, he had no voice. He couldn't meow. He couldn't purr. Like he just, the doctor said it was from eating garbage his whole life. He just scratched up his throat so bad he couldn't make a sound. He'd go.
Yeah.
That's all would happen. Mouth would move. So I woke up this night, and I always used to scoff at the paranormal shows that said, well, I was in the basement, you know, and I looked in a corner and there was no lights in the basement and there was a shadow. It was darker than dark. I'm like, no, you cannot have darker than dark. It doesn't exist. Wrong. Very wrong. Very wrong. I found that out that night. So I wake up because my cat Sean is at the end of my bed screaming. Like he's like,
the cat with no voice.
No voice.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, what's going on? What? Yeah. That's craziness. So I reach out to try to calm him down and I can't move. I got like, I've got like, what do they call that? Paralysis?
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis. Thank you. So I've got that going on, but I'm logical, right? So I'm wide awake and I'm just like, it's sleep paralysis. The cat just woke me up at the start. It'll come back in a minute. You know, okay, it's not coming back. All right, got to work through this now. So I look over into the corner and the room was kind of funny. It was kind of an L-shaped bedroom, really weird setup, but that's how it was. And sure enough, there is this thing standing in the corner, darker than dark. And I'm like, wow. And I have 10-foot ceilings and that thing filled the entire corner, the entire, right to the roof. I'm just like, that's not good. That's really not good. It was at that moment, like I'm laying on my back, my head's turned like this, my cat's blowing a gasket beside me. I can't do anything about it. And I realized I cannot breathe. I can't inhale at all. It's like,
yeah, you've got that.
Yeah. Like I've
got like that hag syndrome.
Well, I didn't feel pressure, but I just like,
yeah,
I can't suck air and I can't push it out. Like there's nothing happening. I'm going to die. This is not good. So I'm like, okay, take stock of the situation, work your way through it. Like it's whatever's happening, you have control over it. It's your body. Just deal with it, right? So finally, I'm just like, I swear, drop the F-bomb. And I'm like, get off. And I'm like, can breathe. Okay, I got air. I'm good. I can get up. I can stand. I get up. Cat bolts. I open the door. He's out like a bullet, right?
You're on your own, dude.
Yeah, he's out in the kitchen. I come walking out. There's a hallway from the bedroom to the kitchen. And like he's in the kitchen. He's looking between my legs, right, to where we just came out of. He's like, hackles are all up. And, he's just not having it, right? I'm like, all right, okay. I'm going to go deal with this now. This is just great. Remember, don't challenge, be affirmative. Don't challenge, be affirmative. Don't be a big weenie. Okay.
Don't be a big weenie.
Yep. So I walk back in that room. I'm like, whatever you are, you're not invited. Get out. This is my place. This is my sanctuary. Get out. Leave. Go. You're not welcome. Out. So I have a canopy bed that fills that room, and it's large columns. So I walk around the end of the bed. I'm looking for this thing. I'm looking around. I can't see it. Then I see something move on the crown molding. The crown molding is like this big, right? So it draws my eye up. And the first thing I thought of, even though it was out of season, was one of those gigantic moths that we get once in a while that are like about that big. They're pretty huge. They're beautiful, gentle. And I looked up, and that's what I thought it was, because it was just sort of fluttering along the molding. So I look up at it, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. And I realize at that moment, it's not a moth. It's actually changing color, and it was the size of 2 grapefruits. And they were kind of orangey red, and they had little black slits in the middle, and they blinked at me.
Oh,
big orangey red eyes that went at me. I'm just like, get out! It was gone. Oh my God. I'm telling you what, I was shivering from top to bottom. Like I just had the shakes going.
Yeah.
So grab the cat, go into the parlor, drop him down. I sit with him in one of the easy chairs, and happy Halloween, Mark. And I've always been told by my bestie up there in the corner that no matter what happens at that house,
I'm going to put my on mute because I know the story and I can't stop laughing.
My phone is on for you, like my clients, 24/7. If you have,
and I was always on call 24/7 back then.
Yeah, you just reach out. Fair enough. Grab my phone. Hey, it's me. Shit's going down. I need help right now. Sorry to bug you. It's 3 a.m, but I know I need help. Please contact me. I am having a fit. I'm calling you.
I'm only laughing because we're friends. And we've been through this. I'm not heartless.
I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Boop. It's me. Sorry to bother you, but you got to call me because I am having a baby right now. Call me. There's stuff going on. Nothing.
Yeah.
Zero.
No.
It
was weird.
And it's 7:30 in the morning. I'm holding my cat, and I'm sitting in this chair waiting for the sun to come up. The phone starts going. Oh, your messages are coming in right now. What is going on? It could be
nothing. Nothing reached me, and I have worked with people who've said this before, and it's like they're blocked from contacting me because that morning it was like bing, 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 bing. I'm like, what's going on? I know.
I had
so
to mute.
Got on the phone. She's like, I'm on my way. Let me just get a frappuccino on the way or something, and I'll be right there. And I'm like, I'm here. I'm not moving.
Let me stop for 25 minutes to get a head-grafted drink.
Nope.
I know.
You waited all night. What does it matter?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
It was there pretty quick. Everything calmed down. Like after the whole get out thing, it was pretty calm. But holy mackerel, I did not see that coming at all. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Those kind of eyes are not something you
don't forget them.
No, you never forget the first time you see them. That's for sure.
Not ever. Not
once. The house had a way of attracting things like that. I remember one time when I was living there, I'm in the kitchen, and I hear something growl at me, and I'm on my way. I'm heading upstairs for something, and I'm just like, I don't care. And I just kept walking out. I just walked upstairs, and then it was just like, it was just, yes, I don't care. Kind of like that.
There wasn't a whole lot of bad there. There was a lot of really good there. My son called me one night having a mind-blowing experience. And like, he's like me. He's really skeptical, even though he believes. He just needs to have the proof in the pudding kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was in the bedroom, which I'm pretty sure was the old man's bedroom. Now, Victorian times, they didn't sleep in the same rooms, right?
That's a real cat.
That's
a Bengal. He's very dramatic.
They're dramatic and mischievous,
and he wants more.
Yeah. How dare you start me?
Yeah, I only ate 20 minutes ago.
He's dramatic even when the food's beside him.
My bowl's empty.
Oh, sorry, your son.
It's okay.
Dramatic.
Yeah,
I remember that night, I think.
Yeah, it was a rough night. Like the whole house has zebra oak floors, except for that bedroom, and that bedroom has cherry floors. And at the time it was built, that room would have looked all the way north to the train station, which is where the gentleman plied his trade. There was a grocery store there. He owned the building, had all kinds of stuff going on there, including the train station. So he would have been able to get up in the morning and look out that window and see all the goings on at that station, even though it was like probably 2 blocks away now. Yeah, it's Dexter. Hi, Dexter. Anyway, so we're out, and I get this phone call, and it's panic. I pick it up, see his number. I pick it up. I'm like, hey, buddy, what's up? He's like, make it stop. Make it stop. You got to make it stop. Make it stop. I'm like, okay, take a breath. Take a breath. I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? He's like, shit's going on. I'm in my room, and the doorknob is shaking, and someone's trying to get in, and they're banging on the door, and the doorknob's rattling and stuff like that. I'm like, he goes, I had to leave. I went downstairs, and I heard them following me downstairs, and I heard all the footsteps all the way into the kitchen. I'm like, okay, all right. Where are the cats? He's like, they're in the living room. I say, okay, go be with the cats. Okay, I'm here now. Okay, what are the cats doing? He's like, they're sleeping. Okay, that's a good thing. The cats are sleeping. I said, what you're having is a residual experience. I said, try to get your head around this, okay? That room was the old boy's room, and the wife of the old boy is probably not happy with something that's going on in the house, in his life, somewhere, and I know there was stuff going on. So anyway, so she's probably like, I want to talk to you right this minute. And he's like, no, door's locked, go away. Open the door. That is all you're hearing in that room. Trust me. And he said, after I talked to him, he said, I went back there and there was nothing. So there wouldn't be anything. There's nothing there.
Yeah, it's just startled.
He just startled him because it was all, well, you're in a room by yourself in a big house by yourself, and all of a sudden someone's trying to get in the door. It's a little upsetting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's that time.
Hey, Folgers, go, man.
We're doing it.
You want to do it,
Wayne? No. I got to do a commercial for you guys. I'm just so busy. I've actually wrote it all out.
Yes, you do. People, we want Folgers commercials. Send them in and we'll play them.
We've only been asking for months. Like, seriously, we'll take them from anyone.
Play all our reruns. How's that?
Yeah. You don't have to be a guest on the show to do a commercial. You just have to have Folgers coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just
have the coffee, speak it, see it. Sorry, Michelle, I can't see you.
Right there. Okay.
Glasses on.
All right, let's do it.
Yes, sorry. I have a leg. We have really high winds again tonight, really bad here. So, I mean, it fits with the day, of course. I mean, I'm loving it, but I don't like what it's doing to my internet. So, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM radio, as well as the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM radio. We are live on Roku, Rumble, YouTube, X, at Michelle Desrochers, X, and all of our Facebook group pages. I believe there's about 6 or 7 of them. Also, you can listen to us on Alexa Prime and every streaming platform you can imagine. Just search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm. All right, our guest tonight is a very dear friend, not just of mine, but even more so of Michelle's. Michelle and Wayne have known each other for years and years and years. They go back a long time. And you've seen him before. He's an author and a TV superstar. Yes, I'm saying it. He will not claim his psychic abilities, even though he has them, but I love him anyways. Wayne Mallows is here tonight with us. He is the author of the Vampyre Tales series. If you haven't read it, you need to get it at waynemallows.com. Now, our gratitude moment, of course, the big guys first, is not that they're all of our sponsors are phenomenal. We just have to give it up for Folgers Coffee. Without you, from our first episode, without you, we would not be here today. And we thank you for your continued support. We thank United Public Radio Network and Joe Montaldo, our network owner, chief, and our producer. Our fabulous banner and promo media is courtesy of Steve McGinnis. He is a horror illustrator and an artist. Steve also creates custom pieces, commission pieces. You can find him on Facebook, check out his pieces, and never know, you might want to contact him to create something for you. He's fantastic.
Like a pet painting. He does
yes. How cool is that? And you can even like dress him up in royalty or something really neat. Our intro is courtesy of Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, also known as Justin Snicker. He's an award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp and stream him on any platform as well. Find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Justin. And my God, this is your month, but his music is fantastic all the time. Lastly, if you are watching this episode right now or listening to us, because we have a huge listening audience, please like, subscribe, smash that notification button so you never miss a show. Kindly share us with your friends and family and help us grow on social media so that we can continue bringing you the best in their fields for your entertainment and for your experience. We want to thank you for always being here in our chat. It wouldn't be the same without you.
And for those on X and on Rumble, we can see your comments. So if you want to comment, it will come up here on our soundboard. So don't be shy. We want to hear what you have to say. And if you have questions or comments, please feel free to hop in anytime. So we filmed at one time, getting back to work, of course. We filmed a lot. And we filmed at one time. We went to this location that was supposed to be very, very benign. And when we were there, we found out it was not so benign. And of course, it was too late. By that point, we were sort of neck deep into it. And things started happening after that. Well, for all of you guys, I was okay.
Yeah, you were fine. Queen of the Dark Realm is always fine.
Yeah, I had no issues.
Don't challenge anything.
They're not haunted issues.
It's the peasant folk here that go out with the Queen of the Dark Realm that take the shot. Yeah, that night was crazy. After we left there, I had to go to work, and I was working a night shift. And I got to work, and I was like that rover job, so I was going from building to building to building to building, and I can know them inside out and backwards. And I don't wig easy. I really don't. You can startle me, but I won't wig. You know what I mean? I don't wig out. And so I'm in this building by myself, and I keep seeing stuff, the corner of my eye stuff, and like looking at, like, we have these vertical things that we put wire through, and you'd see somebody go past, and they're like, I know I'm alone. I totally know I'm alone. So I leave that building and I go to the next one, and I'm driving through the city, and I'm like, it just seems so dark tonight. I mean, it's dark, it's the middle of the night, but it just seems more dark than, like, the lights don't seem to penetrate anything. It's just weird. And I get to this other building, same thing. I just feel a little on edge, a little uneasy. Clock out. And one of the things we have to do before we leave the building is I get in my truck, I start it, and I got to make sure that the mag locks grab the door, and they're lit up on the outside. So when I leave, I clock out, the door closes, and the light's green, and it stays green for a bit, and then they grab and it goes red. And once it's red, then you can leave. Otherwise, you can't leave. The door's wide open. So I'm sitting in the truck, and I'm looking out, and I think it was March. It wasn't cold, but it wasn't nice anymore. So, and I'm looking at the door, and there's, all the way I can describe it is, if you can picture a disc about the size of a garbage can lid, a round garbage can. There's two of them. shadows on the ground in front of this door, and they were erratically moving together, like in sync together. And I'm standing there. I get out of the truck. I stand. I look at this thing moving. Logic. So I look up where the lights are in the parking lot, right? And I figure, okay, there's a bag caught on one of the lights and it's spinning around up there. No bag, no nothing. I walk around. I can't even get a shadow to do that, right? It just felt really uneasy. I didn't like what I was looking at. It was unexplainable. I couldn't explain where it's coming from. It wasn't from my lights in my truck. It wasn't from anything, right? So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I drive off, and I'm just getting really crotchety. Like everything's irritating me more than normal. I get to the doors don't open properly. The truck doesn't lock properly. Like I can't find my paperwork. Where's this tool I need? I'm dropping stuff. So I message Michelle. I just say, how are you feeling tonight? That's all I wrote. How you feeling tonight? She writes back, I feel ornery.
Normal.
Well, you said normal. But I feel ornery. And then you wrote back, it's actually more ornery than normal, is what you wrote back. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I said, can I call you? And so we talked for a little bit. I said, I feel really irritated. Everything feels really dark. I'm dropping stuff. I want to like whip my tools down the hallway. And I saw these really weird shadows. Like it's just, I'm starting to feel that something's not right. So anyway, she checked in with everybody else that was on that film shoot that we were doing. It. Everybody was blowing a gasket. People were on the verge of divorce. There was like fights going on at home.
Yeah. Oh my!
Like, everybody was agitated. And, Michelle did like magic-y stuff, and
that's intense.
Oh, it was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So things can follow you home. Man,
don't I know it?
It's true. It's true.
It's crazy stuff.
Between a lot of investigations that we've done and a lot of locations that we've been to, there's definitely been a lot of crazy things that have followed. The one we did in Toronto.
Oh, that was bad too.
That was really bad.
In Toronto?
We finished that up, and he was a knocker. Knocked 3 times.
Oh,
not on the ceiling.
I can't stand that. That's one thing that really gets to me, though, is the knocking.
Home. Yeah, I live alone. I go home in the creepy old house, and I go upstairs and get everything ready for bed, put all my gear away and stuff, and I'm sitting on the end of the bed, contemplating life in the universe, and I hear the old out in the hallway, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to give it to you. There's no way. Pick up the phone, text the Dark Queen. Hey, I got a visitor. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me. And anyway, she's like, give me a minute. Like, okay. So I'm sitting there. Then on the headboard behind me now is like, and I'm like, closer. It's on the headboard now. It's like, one moment, please. I'm like, Anyway, she messages like, all of a sudden it felt really good. Like it felt like, okay, yeah, that feels good. And she messaged me, how does it feel now? I'm like, yeah, feels good. Feels a lot better. She goes, I sent some of my family members. They're going to babysit you tonight. I'm like, thank you. Appreciate that. Like that.
Yeah. The knocker. Yeah, I had him as well.
That thing was horrible.
Knockers are annoying. They're just annoying.
We got the EVP back, and when it was doing the walkthrough, he was just growling. The recording is growling behind me. I was just like, oh, for Pete's sake, But yeah,
most of Toronto's haunted. I mean, Lorraine did the footpath walk more than once. Lorraine Warren.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very crazy down there.
Well, that's a lot of crazy. That's for sure. I mean,
that's why I said to them, you can just walk in certain neighborhoods on the sidewalk and not even have to take a tour or go into a building and have experiences. And people are just like, what?
I was very fortunate. I got to see so many cool things working there. I got to see all the residences. I got to see underground rooms and things that had long gone, abandoned subway places. It's wild.
It's stuff I worked at Queen and Bay on the
Between the
concourse
base station,
level.
but I mean, there's other ones.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
No, I'm saying I worked on the concourse level when I was doing hair, and I hated to walk through that level. I'd go walk around
yeah,
instead of taking even an elevator to the deli that was a part of Sheraton Hotel. That was a great deli. And I would walk all the way around rather than go through the concourse level, because I just felt like I was walking through spider webs. And I didn't realize at the time because I was so young.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
All
really
kinds of stuff
creepy
like that.
downtown.
There's a double set of bridges downtown that most people don't know about. They don't notice them at first. They have the Bloor Viaduct that goes across, and it's got the subway underneath it, and you can see that. And if you go along Bloor Danforth going west, you can actually see the trains come out, and they go through a white curved covered tunnel that heads you onto the Bloor line. But if you go down the Bayview extension to Rosedale Valley Road and you go up Rosedale Valley Road, you'll see a second viaduct that goes across Rosedale Valley Road. And if you look up, if you stop the car and get out and you look up, you can see two train stations or two straight train tunnels that are there. There's no tracks there. If you look at it from the air, if you look at it from one of the buildings that are in that area, which I've done, it actually goes down Parliament Street. And that was supposed to be the train station that hooked up to St. Jamestown, which was the extension of Rosedale, 4 or 10 beautiful condominiums that never got finished. And down below there was a whole double level concourse with a train station that went all the way.
I don't remember that.
Queen Street. It was supposed to hook up with the Queen Street line.
Oh,
that never ever got finished. And if you take Queen Street out west to Dufferin Street, there's a train station there for the CN and Via, whatever's there.
yeah.
But if you see the old abandoned stairs that are cemented off, you will see a big cement sign with a staircase that's no longer there that says to Subway.
I've never seen that. I didn't know that.
Queen
I've
Street.
never gone out that way.
Never been finished. Never done.
I wonder how many of them there are. There's so many tunnels under that city, but I wonder, yeah. And what did they unleash with some of them? Because some tunnels are underground from wartime as well. I mean, that is a big thing in England. They had tunnel diggers that worked under there and didn't see the light of day for months, and they just dug and dug and dug so that they could save their soldiers.
The light of day. They used donkeys to pull the cart. They were born in the mines and born in the tunnels, and they died in the tunnels. Do I have time to tell you a Ouija board story?
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, we sure?
Yeah. It's only 1:45.
When I was young and stupid, I got myself a Ouija board when I was 17, and I was fascinated with all things spooky because I wanted to be the weird kid, and I was the weird kid, but not for the good reasons. The kids. I got a Ouija board. I got to play with it, and I got contact with a spirit, a female spirit, and we got along famously for a little while. And she'd answer my questions and tell me when she was born and where she was born and how she died, and it was all really cool, right? And she likes me and I like her, and everything's great. Oh, it's my invisible friend on a plastic board. It was fun. And then one day she says to me, "I'd like to meet you."
She says, "Meow."
Well, that's Dexter.
I know.
She says, "I'd like to meet you," and I'm like, "That's cool. How can you come to my room? Can you come and see me?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, then how am I going to meet you then? Beyond this conversation?" And she spells out "die," right? And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, well, I can't do that." And then she stopped talking to me. She stopped talking to me altogether for the longest time, and so I started to type this all out in chat, but I couldn't do it all. So a couple of weeks go by, and all of a sudden it starts moving, and it's a normal pattern, and it's her again. So I forget her name now. But oh, you're back. And so I'm sorry if I offended you. And she's like, "It's all right. I understand." Right, okay, fine. So then we have a nice conversation again. Everything's good. And she goes, "I want to meet you." And I said, "But I can't." She goes, "No die." I'm like, "Oh, no die. Okay, no die is good. I like no die. This is great. How do we do this?" And I had a friend with me at the time, and he was interested in it as well. So she gives me a bunch of numbers and letters that made no sense. We wrote everything down. I didn't know what they were, like E41 and F10. What's that? What it was coordinates on a map. So my friend's like, "I think it's map coordinates. I think it's actually, when you get a map and you go to the top and you drop down and you go to the side and you go to the middle, that's the location." I'm like, that's a good idea. You got a map? He's like, yeah, I got a map. So we get a map out and pull it all out and make it all out. And it's a cemetery. And it's the cemetery in Cabbagetown, right near the Rosedale Valley Road.
Very old.
Very, very old.
Very old.
So I got it. I'm like, okay, great. We figured out where you are. Fantastic. Where are you in the cemetery? And she says, like, oh, my stone was made of wood. It's gone. Like, my marker is made of wood. It's long gone. It's not there. But they planted a tree where I was buried. And the tree has basically taken over my whole cemetery plot. So if you go to this location, find this big tree, you'll find it. It took us a while to find it. And we went in the daytime, right? We couldn't find it. Finally found it. Like, okay, fine. So we get on. I was going to say, we message her back. We can't message her back. We get on the board and we do the thing. We found it. Okay, so when can we meet you? And she says, like 12. I'm like, 12 midnight? I'm not going. You're dreaming. Everything's locked up. I'm not climbing a fence. Forget it. And she's like, no, noon is fine. Noon is fine. I'll meet you. I'm like, okay, great. Hey, let's go. So we get in the car. We drive down there on a Thursday at noon. Funny, I remember that. I can't remember what I had for lunch, but I can remember that. We drive down there, park the car, walk into the cemetery, and we get to this big tree and we sit down. And so I'm talking to Frank, and Frank's talking to me, and it's like, so what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to see a spirit? I'm going to see what this woman looks like. It's going to be great. Like, it's going to be so cool. We're just like so excited, right? And then the temperature goes way down. It's summertime. We're just like, the two complete newbie dumb buns sitting out in the cemetery with the temperature dropping. Oh my God, it was so bizarre. And they hadn't kept the grass in a while, right? So the grass is long. We're sitting in the grass and the temperature drops, and swear to you, we're sitting beside each other, kind of like across. So there's a space there where the tree is. The grass flattens out where somebody sat down beside us. And I'm just like, nope. Afraid.
Oh my God.
We both bolted. He was ahead of me by about 10 feet, just motoring. I don't think we touched the ground. We ran down the hill in the opposite direction of the car. We didn't know which way we were going. We bolted and we got down to the bottom of this thing. There was a chain link fence. It was probably 8 or 10 feet high. I don't even remember climbing it. The next thing I know, I'm walking on Rosedale Valley Road heading towards the Bayview Extension. No clue where I was.
It's no just idea. A blur. Yeah.
Oh. Did she ever try to message you back and say, what happened?
Never heard from her again.
Found someone else.
I messaged her back. I just said, look, I'm sorry. Like, are you still there? Like, I just panicked. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Nothing ever again. I'm like, I'm not playing with that. And now, Frank was like, do you want to get the board? And again, I'll give you the board so you can have the board.
I think people now with the millennials, with all the paranormal shows and the movies, the CGI movies, they know you can't outrun any of them.
That's true.
They know now. Like, you can run 5 kilometers and that thing will just be like, hey
right there. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
Not wrong.
Yeah. So just take your time, because if it really wants you, it's just going to show up wherever you end up. So
fear was propelling my feet. Like, my brain.
I know.
My brain had no connection to my legs.
No, but you also didn't have like the films that are out there now with the CGIs. Like, you really, when I see films where the images go like from this to this to this, that's how I see things. So I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
How I saw things.
It happens so fast you can't move.
Run.
That's enough for me too, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really find peace in cemeteries, though, and I have to say, from the few experiences that we've had together, I found you very calming. Always so calming for me. Whenever you walked with me, I always felt at ease and I was safe.
That's because you're with a gormless person.
Well, no, I was hiding behind you, and it's easy because I'm 5'4". So
I was your meat shield. Thanks.
I would just like.
Let me tell you a non-paranormal but funny cemetery story.
Okay.
So when I was with the phone company and I would do different jobs, I got this call. My boss comes to me. He goes, "Got to go do this job. I'm sending you because you're straight-laced and you're not going to be stupid, right?" Like, no, I'm not going to be stupid about it. That's what I do, right? So I used to get all the high-end customers and things like that. So I get this thing and it's an address. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know where it is, but I'll get there. It's up on Parliament. I'll go up there. So I pull up and it's the St. James Cemetery. And it's like I pull in with my truck and I'm thinking, okay, they're getting a business line put in, even though it says a residential phone line, right? Like, I'll get it straightened out. I'll deal with the paperwork later. Go to the office. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Phone company guy, got this order, phone number, blah, blah, blah. She goes, okay, just a second. I'll get the curator, whatever they call the main guy at the cemetery. So he comes over and he goes, oh, I'll hop in your truck. Let's go for a drive. I'm like, okay. I'm figuring we're going to the maintenance shed or something. We drive all the way through the cemetery, all the way around. And we get to the spot and we get out and I'm like, here? He's like, yeah, just here. This is what we got to do. So we get there and there's this open grave, right? And they've got the cement liner in there. And I'm like, what's up? He goes, okay. So it's pretty strange, but he says, we have to have a phone line put into this crypt, right? Because the guy is so paranoid about being buried alive, even though he's been embalmed, that he has paid for a phone line for 50 years or some crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
And they had dug a trench from the grave all the way through the cemetery, along the road, all the way down to where our phone boxes were. And he goes, all I need you to do is lay the cable in, hook it up, put the jack on the end of it.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Plug the phone in.
Yeah.
Show me that it works. Let me hear the dial tone. Call it. Make it ring. Let me call you. Let me hear you. And then we're good to go. I'm just like, for sure. Whatever you want, man. Ran all the cable. It was a long cable. Ran it all in. I think I'm glad I didn't have to dig it, but they dug it. Laid it all in. Put it on. Gave him the phone. I called him from my phone. He called me back. He's like, great. We're good to go. So what happens now? He goes, oh, we'll unplug it. We'll wait till everybody leaves. Then we'll open the casket. We'll drop it in beside him. Put the thing on, and away we go, right? So I kept that number for years. I would call it.
You would, you weirdo.
One day, I was waiting. The guy's going to pick it up. Hello.
It's not a bad idea for people visiting in case they get stuck in there. They can call up. Because you won't get a cell signal in a crypt.
It was a grave. It was in the grave. It wasn't
in the grave. Oh my gosh. When you said crypt, I was picturing mausoleum.
No, it was in the grave.
It was in the ground.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They drilled a hole in it. They put the cable in it, so they waterproofed it. So the water couldn't. Oh man, crazy.
One hell of a paranoia.
Wow. It's been very entertaining, enlightening, and wow, yeah. That's another story I hadn't heard, was the Ouija board story. Yeah. So even I'm learning new things, and I should know them all, but somehow I don't.
I did tell you the Ouija board thing before, and you said you wonder why you have problems growing up.
Wow.
That story.
Well, now we know.
People think you're lucky to be best friends.
I know.
She answered you.
We're both forgetful and we're both hard of hearing now. So it's hilarious. And a little
if you think Michelle is forgetful, you would die with me.
Oh,
I do with some things. Yeah. For the most part, though, I'm pretty.
You remember a lot.
I'm pretty sharp.
Well, sometimes it's just silly things. Like I'll be down in the basement. I hit my head one day on a pipe. And I got really split it open.
I know.
Right. And I come upstairs and I got blood running between my fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, I've hit my head on that stupid pipe again. Oh my God. You think I'd learn? Michelle doesn't look up from her phone. She's got her phone and she's just like, yeah, that dog's something else, isn't she?
Just on a total different wavelength.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Right. Not even in the same dimension.
Oh my God.
It's good. It's really good.
I know. I'm in a whole other dimension, I'm sure, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other day she says, and she goes, wasn't that wind this morning amazing? I'm like, what wind?
Don't ask me. That was strange.
She said, oh, I didn't want to get up this morning. The wind was blowing. The leaves are rustling. And I'm just like,
I'm wide awake.
Not here. Not here. There's no wind blowing. So I'm telling you,
I
opened the window
really
behind me. I'm like,
though.
no wind. I promise you.
No wind. And I could hear it. just
that's why I couldn't get up. The wind was
crazy.
blowing. It was so
Part of
beautiful.
Michelle got stuck in that last dimension during the night.
I know.
So
But
she
I
was still coming
soothed.
back.
I'm like, oh, I love sleeping in that stuff. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh,
it's
man,
soothing.
this is
It's
great.
soothing. Nothing is more soothing than when you see the
Yeah.
leaves that have passed, and yes, they were alive before, people. They have passed, and they're beautiful colors, and they're showing us to let go of dead things, and the wind's blowing, and it's just comforting.
Let me tell you
But some of us don't like to let go
one
of
last
dead
funny
things.
thing, can I?
Okay, well, if it's quick, because we're
All
really
right,
at the
quick.
top of the hour.
Remember when you were sleeping in the middle bedroom when you were staying over?
Okay.
Right? And I walked by the bedroom to go to the bathroom, and you were talking like in an ancient language.
Oh,
I don't know.
and you even had the sigh. You were even annoyed in your ancient language. All I heard
there's
was like,
something new.
"This neck back there, guys, this book there, yeah."
I mean, huh, like, listen to me.
Oh, you remember that? And what did she say to me the next day? What did I say? Oh no! Well, what language was it?
Is Wayne Google?
He looked it up though.
But you really speak English.
It was
I
language.
looked up different languages on YouTube, and he goes, "That's what it sounded like."
Yeah.
It's hard because
it's like, oh crap.
But you were
so you had to
annoyed
look
in
up
Aramaic.
Passion of the Christ to know what that
I
was.
was annoyed in Aramaic.
You were annoyed.
Oh my gosh.
Even
Sure,
then.
that could be a thing.
My favorite saying from Michelle is often imitated, always irritated.
Wow. Not wrong though. It's my life. I'm always busy. My mind is always, but anyway, that's that. What is this? Too bad you get no, darn good thing you didn't.
Oh.
Let the hostilities really begin. So
Oh my.
anyway, everybody, this has been the Halloween show. And that could have been. Yes, maybe.
Well, she actually asked me, did you record it? I was going to the bathroom. I didn't take the phone with me. No.
How dare you? What were you
thinking?
thinking?
Standing outside your bedroom in my
What?
PJs in the middle of the night.
I did say you should have recorded it. I know.
Good grief, man.
You need a drone.
I am a drone.
All right. On that note, so this has been the Outer Realm Halloween show. You guys all asked. We brought him back because you wanted to hear more ghost stories after the last show. So you had all kinds of ghost stories. We had a few laughs, and yeah.
We need more.
Thank you. Yeah, we had a lot of fun, and we hope that you guys always be prepared. Oh, he is now.
You're dreaming.
So
what am I preparing?
Anyway, so big thank you guys for meeting us in the chat room and giving us your comments and so on, because honestly, you guys make it that much more fun. And of course, big thank you to Wayne. So we'll get downstairs. I'm like, any more stories you're holding on to?
Hold on to them. Hold on to them. We got to do a part 2.
I know.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
Now, next week,
You can do a whole show on me hurting myself.
We're going back a little bit more serious. Wednesday night, we welcome back Michael Cameron, who's been on before. It's going to be some sensitive content. It's going to be talking about, he is a UFO ET experiencer, my lab. So talk about shadow organizations. There's a lot that's going to be coming in, and it's going to be a little bit of a darker topic. Last time he spoke with us is really emotional, but it will be informative. Thursday right now, something's up, got some couple of things up in the air because we had a guest who was going to be on, and he's going to be filming another incredible project. So he's coming back to us in February, and there's going to be even that much more to talk about. So we'll have to stay tuned because there's still kind of a surprise, but I've messaged a couple of people who are on the standby list, and we'll see what happens at that point. So thank you guys all for tuning in. Happy Halloween, and we shall see you all next week. Good night.
Hey, everyone. Happy Halloween.